Welcome to Psychodynamics. The following seminar was recorded live. You will find that your experience of this psychodynamics adventure in awareness will heighten and become more meaningful as you participate in all of the processes as if you were actually there. Welcome to an adventure, the greatest adventure of all, an adventure in awareness. I'd like to give a little background about psychodynamics. Psychodynamics has been working in the areas of business and industry, dealing with people in the industrial community and in the general community at large. And what we do is we teach people something about their own creative process. And we all have a creative process, whether we're aware of it or not. And the purpose of this evening is to allow you to become more aware of your own individual creative process. And part of the creative process that we all experience is that we are part of a universe that is ruled by law and order and discipline. And as a result of that, there is no such thing as luck. There is no such thing as bad luck or good luck, and nothing happens by accident. And for those of us who have been holding on to the idea of luck for a long time, I'm just going to ask you to make believe for a while that what I'm saying is so. And as you come to understand the true nature of your own creative process, it will give you something to look at. And to demonstrate that point a little further, I want to show you something that really illustrates what I'm talking about to some degree. Is everyone able to see this little gizmo here? Does anyone know what this little gizmo is called? A little gizmo, okay. It's an item that has been merchandised as an executive toy. However, the original intent was to demonstrate a principle. And the principle that this demonstrates is known as Newton's third law of motion. And does anyone here know what Newton's third law of motion is? For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. For instance, we have 5 steel balls of equal weight and size. I'm going to suspend one steel ball and drop it. And that's going to be the action, and the reaction is going to be automatic and predictable. Automatic and predictable. When I suspend 2 steel balls and drop it, there's going to be a predictable response. What's that going to be? 2 steel balls. Right. Okay. Now when I suspend 3 steel balls and drop them, if you're not familiar with the principle, you might have a tendency to say, well, there are only 2 steel balls remaining, and therefore 2 steel balls will respond. However, what happens is there's a principle in motion. Was everyone able to see that? Let me do that again. There are 2 steel balls left, and I'm going to suspend and drop 3 steel balls. And you see that 3 steel balls respond. If you're not familiar with the principle, you might be inclined to say, well, only 2 will respond, and that's usually what happens. When I suspend 4 steel balls and drop them, what happens? How many people don't know? Okay, watch what happens. Did everyone see that? The principle is that for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. And the interesting thing about this principle is that regardless of what you see, regardless of the outwardly appearances, there is a principle in motion. And the same thing happens with you as an individual. The same thing happens with me. We are operating under that same principle. That we are the cause to all of our effects. That the effects that we experience in our lives, the reactions, are nothing more than reactions to us as the action. That we set in motion what is destined to be a predictable effect. And regardless of what the outwardly appearances are, you can actually allow yourself to experience control over your life. That all the success, all the abundance, and all the prosperity that you hear about, or that you experience, or maybe don't experience, is a reflection of what you are knowing about yourself, regardless of what the outwardly appearances are. When we talk about cause and effect or action-reaction, we're talking about a principle that works in all of our lives, whether we're aware of it or not. It's like gravity. You don't have to believe in gravity, but gravity is working for you or against you if you're not using it, if you're not aware of it. What you may or may not be aware of is that you are the originating cause to all of your experiences. You are the originating cause to all of your experiences, and you are the cause which is known as something as consciousness. Consciousness is that word that you've heard, I'm sure, many, many times. Consciousness is simply the ideas that you are believing, the thoughts that you are living out of, and the concepts that you integrate into your own belief system. You operate out of a belief system, and it's what you are knowing and believing about yourself that becomes the originating cause to all of your experiences. That nothing out there in your life happens by accident. It's not an accident that you are successful or not successful. It's not an accident that you have loving relationships or you don't. It's not an accident that you have wonderful and fruitful opportunities or you don't. All these things in your life are effects. The way you look, the way you feel, is nothing more than a reflection of your own belief system or a reflection of your own consciousness. Your consciousness represents those ideas that you are living out of and your belief system. A very simple example would be a child who is told often enough that he or she is clumsy. What happens to that child? Yeah, a perfectly well-coordinated child develops the intellect to know exactly what to do to fulfill that idea. So when we're talking about consciousness, here's what I want you to consider and to look at. That consciousness always becomes form. The physical form in your life is nothing more than the manifestation of what you are knowing and believing about yourself. Consciousness always becomes form. If you have a consciousness of being clumsy, then you will experience the physical form of whatever clumsy is. If you have a consciousness of being successful, then you will see opportunities that are invisible to other people who do not have a success consciousness. If you have a consciousness of worrying and being fearful, then the physical form of that will show up in the way you look and the way you feel. Consciousness always becomes form. And because we're dealing with a principle, if you're not knowing that consciousness always becomes form, then you're knowing something else. Then you have a habit, perhaps, of looking at things and situations as accidents or happening by virtue of good luck or bad luck. What we're going to talk about this evening is the nature of your creative process so that you can develop the consciousness, and the form will be predictable. You will not be surprised of your physical forms in all experiences of your life. That the way you look and the way you feel is a direct manifestation of what's reflected in what you are knowing and believing about yourself. A good example that I like to tell, and for some of you may have heard it before, but I think it bears repeating. A major university did a very interesting experiment about 7 or 8 months ago. They took a baby eagle right from its mother's nest, and they put it into a chicken coop with about 200 baby chickens. And in a couple of days, that baby eagle started to peck exactly like a chicken. Started to jump up and down like a chicken. It became like its environment. It became what it thought it was. It became what it believed it was. And even though it had the power to soar and to fly like any eagle, it was limited based upon its belief system. And that's what happens to us as individuals. We create limitations based upon false beliefs. And what I want you to look at this evening is that the true nature of what you really represent is that you are unlimited. That you can actually experience anything that you would like to experience in your life if you're willing to believe if you're willing to develop the consciousness that you